Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going back in time, way back to ancient China, to explore a dynasty shrouded in myth and legend.
Right.
It feels like something out of a fantasy novel.
Yeah.
But the story has it all: power struggles, epic floods, questionable choices by those in charge. We're talking about the Xia Dynasty.
Yeah, you're right. It has all those elements of a really incredible story.
It does.
And what I think is so fascinating about it is that even if it is really more myth and legend than history,
Right.
it still gives us this glimpse into early Chinese society and their values.
So set the scene for us.
Okay.
Where does the story even begin?
Well, we have to start with a legend.
Okay.
It's really ingrained in the Chinese historical narrative.
Yeah.
The story of Yu the Great.
Okay.
So picture this,
Oh.
a massive flood.
Okay.
It's threatening to consume everything,
Oh, wow.
throwing the world into chaos.
Yeah.
And that is the challenge that you faced.
Right.
But instead of just like giving in to despair,
Yeah.
he dedicated himself to controlling these waters. He worked tirelessly for years.
Wow.
He even neglected his family,
Oh, no.
all to save his people.
Wow. Talk about a dedicated leader.
Right.
So this flood wasn't just some like minor inconvenience.
Whoa.
This was a full-blown crisis.
Oh, yeah, it was a full-blown crisis.
And this really showed Yu's true character.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what set him apart.
Okay.
He put the needs of the people above his own.
Right?
And that is the Confucian ideal of a virtuous ruler, someone who earns that right to lead through service and dedication.
Okay.
And because of this heroism,
Yeah.
this conquering of the flood, this bringing order to chaos,
Yeah.
he laid the foundation for what would become the Xia Dynasty.
Wow.
He was seen as the perfect leader, chosen by heaven itself.
Okay, so the bar is set pretty high right from the start.
Right.
Yeah. No pressure on his successors.
Yeah, no pressure at all.
Right.
You could say that
Yeah.
the legend of Yu the Great casts a very long shadow.
Right.
It set this powerful precedent for what it meant to be a just and effective ruler in Chinese culture.
Of course.
But, as we will see, living up to that ideal was not always easy for those who followed.
Yeah.
His son, Qi, for instance,
Okay.
decided to shake things up a bit.
Okay. How so?
Okay.
Did he try to like outdo his father with an even bigger flood control project or something?
Not quite.
Okay.
Qi's change was more about power dynamics.
Okay.
He transitioned from this system of leadership based on merit
Okay.
to a hereditary monarchy.
Oh, okay.
He basically made himself the first official king of China.
Ah, so he went from I earned this through hard work and dedication
Right.
to this is my birthright.
Exactly.
That's a pretty significant shift.
It is a huge shift.
Yeah.
It's really a pivotal moment in Chinese history
Yeah.
because it introduces this concept of inherited power.
Right.
And this lays the groundwork for this dynastic system
Yeah.
that would shape China for millennia.
Wow.
But this shift came with a catch. Remember the mandate of heaven?
Right.
We talked about it a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
This ancient Chinese belief that a ruler's right to rule
Yeah.
comes directly from a divine source.
Okay.
It's this cosmic stamp of approval,
Right.
but it isn't unconditional.
Oh.
It's tied to the ruler's virtue,
okay.
their ability to govern justly
Okay.
and effectively.
So if a ruler starts slacking off,
Huh.
neglecting their duties,
Yes.
or let's say indulging in a bit too much luxury,
Yes,
the heavens might decide to give that mandate to someone else.
exactly.
Okay.
And this concept of a conditional mandate
Okay.
would become central to justifying rebellion
Right.
and regime change throughout Chinese history.
Okay.
But more on that later.
Okay.
The important thing to remember now
Yeah.
is that Qi's decision to make it a hereditary monarchy
Right.
introduced a whole new set of challenges and complexities
Yeah.
to the art of ruling.
So no pressure for Qi's heir.
Right.
Right. Stepping into those shoes after a legend like Yu the Great
Right.
and with the mandate of heaven hanging over your head.
Yeah.
That sounds intense, to say the least. Speaking of pressure,
Okay.
tell us about Qi's successor.
Sure.
Did they handle it well?
Well, let's just say that Qi's son, Kang,
Okay.
took the whole divine right to party thing a little too seriously.
Oh, no, not the divine right to party.
Yeah.
Sounds like someone forgot that they had responsibilities beyond picking out the palace playlist.
Right.
What kind of ruler was he?
Imagine a king more interested in lavish hunting trips
Okay.
and endless banquets than actually ruling.
Okay.
Kang really epitomized the kind of ruler
Yeah.
that inspired whispers of, remember when Yu the Great actually cared about the people?
Ouch. It sounds like the honeymoon phase of dynastic rule was officially over.
Right,
Like,
right.
the people were starting to realize that maybe having a king as your landlord wasn't all it was cracked up to be.
Yeah, and remember that whole mandate of heaven idea?
Right.
Well, when a ruler starts neglecting their duties,
Right.
indulging in all of this excessive luxury,
Right.
while the people are struggling,
Yeah.
it makes that mandate feel a little less divine
Yeah.
and a little more up for grabs.
Okay, so enter stage left. The ambitious usurper ready to take advantage or answer the call of destiny.
Exactly.
To take advantage of a king who'd rather chase pleasure than deal with paperwork.
Yeah.
Who was this ambitious soul?
This is where history gets really, really interesting.
Okay.
Kang's reign coincides with this legendary figure,
Yeah.
Hou Yi, the archer extraordinaire.
Wait, Hou Yi?
Yes.
As in the guy who shot down 9 sons.
That's the one.
The one with the moon goddess wife?
Yes.
That Hou Yi.
One and the same.
Wow, okay.
Although, as with many figures from this time period,
Right.
separating fact from fiction
Right.
can be tricky.
Because shooting down 9 sons sounds a tad excessive.
It does.
Even for a legendary archer. So how does this legendary archer fit into the story of the Xia Dynasty?
So while Kang was off on one of his many extravagant hunting trips,
Okay.
neglecting his duties,
Right.
leaving the kingdom vulnerable,
Right.
Hou Yi saw an opportunity.
Okay. And with Kang so distracted, it probably wasn't that hard to just kind of waltz in and take over.
Probably not.
Like, who needs arrows when you've got apathy on your side?
Exactly.
Right.
History tells us that Hou Yi, along with his supporters,
Okay.
seized the capital,
Wow.
effectively ending Kang's reign.
Wow, what a fall from grace.
Right.
But did Hou Yi live up to the hype?
That is the question, isn't it?
Yeah. Was he a better ruler than the party-loving king that he deposed?
Well, this is where the story takes another fascinating turn.
Okay.
You see, Hou Yi, despite his archery skills,
Okay.
fell into the same traps as his predecessor.
Oh, no. Not another one.
I know.
It's like they say, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah.
Power can be quite the corrupting force. Right.
Yes, and in Hou Yi's case, this cycle of repeating mistakes
Yeah.
led to yet another power grab,
Okay.
this time from within his own ranks.
Oh, so who betrayed the legendary archer?
This is it.
Spill the tea.
This is Han Zhuo,
Okay.
a figure who history remembers as the first documented traitor in Chinese history.
Wow.
And talk about cunning.
Okay.
Han Zhuo was a master manipulator.
Okay.
He played the long game.
Okay.
He showered Hou Yi with flattery,
Right.
exploiting his vanity,
Oh, right.
his love of pleasure,
Okay.
all while quietly amassing power and influence.
So while Hou Yi was busy practicing his archery skills on unsuspecting wildlife,
Right.
Han Zhuo is playing 3D chess with the entire kingdom.
Yeah, you could say that.
That's cold.
It is. And eventually Han Zhuo saw his opportunity.
Okay.
He launched this surprise attack,
Okay.
caught Hou Yi completely off guard,
Wow.
and seized control of the kingdom.
Wow, what a story. It seems like the Xia Dynasty just can't catch a break.
I know, right?
First, a king who'd rather party than rule,
Right.
then a legendary archer who gets outsmarted by his own advisor.
Right.
What happens next?
Right.
Is there any hope for the Xia Dynasty? So Han Zhuo, our coming usurper, is sitting on the throne now.
Right.
You'd think he would have learned a thing or two from his predecessors.
Yeah.
Like, don't mess with the mandate of heaven,
Right.
treat the people right, all that.
You'd hope so, right?
Right.
But power corrupts.
Yeah.
And Han Zhuo was much more interested in consolidating his power
Right.
than in learning from the mistakes of those he had overthrown.
Okay.
In fact, he became obsessed with wiping out any remaining threats to his rule,
Okay.
especially those pesky Xi descendants
Right.
who might still have a claim to the throne.
Talk about holding a grudge.
Right.
But wasn't that a little short-sighted?
Well,
You can't erase an entire lineage,
right.
especially one as well-connected as the Xia clan.
Well, that's the thing. That's
Yeah.
exactly what happened. While Han Zhuo was busy consolidating his power,
Right.
a young man named Shao Kang,
Okay.
a direct descendant of Yu the Great himself,
Wow.
was slowly but surely gaining support
Okay.
among those who wanted to go back
Interesting.
to the values of that dynasty.
Okay, so Shao Kang, exiled heir to the throne versus Han Zhuo, the ruthless usurper.
Right.
It's like a classic underdog story.
It is.
But how did Shao Kang manage to rally enough support to challenge someone as powerful as Han Zhuo?
Well, you got to remember, the people had not forgotten the legacy of Yu the Great,
Right.
the ideal ruler who served the people
Yeah.
and ensured their well-being.
Right.
They had seen what happened when rulers abandoned those ideals,
Right.
when they chose pleasure
Yeah.
and self-interest over the needs of the kingdom.
Right.
They were tired of instability.
They were ready for a change.
Yes,
Right.
a return to a time when rulers understood that their power came with a responsibility.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So Shao Kang really tapped into that discontent. He reminded the people of the Xia Dynasty's legacy,
Right.
and he promised to return to those values.
Okay.
And slowly but surely, he built this coalition of support.
Okay, so we've got our hero, Shao Kang,
Right.
rallying the people,
Yes.
ready to reclaim his birthright.
Yes.
What happened next?
Well,
Was it a straightforward victory?
there are always twists and turns.
Of course.
But in the end,
Yeah.
Shao Kang, with the support of the people and the weight of his lineage behind him,
Okay.
managed to overthrow Han Zhuo
Wow.
and reclaim the throne.
Yes. Score one for the good guys.
I know.
The Shao Kang restoration.
Yes.
That must have been a huge moment
Oh,
in
absolutely.
Chinese history.
It really captured the imagination of generations to come.
It's like a real-life fairy tale.
I know, right?
The rightful heir overcoming adversity to reclaim his throne
Yes.
and restore justice to the kingdom.
And restore justice.
It's amazing.
But as with all good stories,
Yeah.
it was bittersweet.
Oh, how so?
The Xia Dynasty, although back in power,
Yeah.
had been through a lot.
Yeah. They had seen how easily power could shift,
Right.
how easily even the most legendary figures could fall from grace.
Exactly.
And that's where we leave the Xia Dynasty.
Not quite.
Oh, there's more.
Yeah. The later years of the Xia Dynasty
Yeah.
are shrouded in mystery
Okay.
and conflicting accounts.
Okay.
But one figure looms large in those fragmented tales,
Okay.
the last ruler of the Xia.
Okay.
A king whose name has become synonymous with tyranny and excess,
Okay.
King Jie.
King Jie. This is where the story takes a dark turn, right?
This is it.
He's the one who takes the whole absolute power corrupts absolutely thing to a whole new level.
Exactly.
Okay.
King Jie makes Tai Kang's love of parties look like a child's birthday celebration.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He surrounded himself with luxury,
Okay.
built extravagant palaces,
Right.
indulged in every whim,
Right.
all while ignoring the plight of his people.
This is where I start to get nervous. When rulers start thinking that they're above the law,
Yeah.
above even basic human decency,
Right.
that's when things tend to go sideways fast.
Right. Is there a particular story that illustrates just how bad things got under his rule?
Well, I mean, you mentioned that he was a tyrant, that
Yeah.
he was excessive.
There are so many tales of his cruelty and extravagance.
Yeah.
But one that stands out is the story of his concubine, Mei Shi.
Okay, I've heard of her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so what's the story there?
So legend has it that Ji was completely besotted with Mei Shi,
Okay.
showering her with lavish gifts
Okay.
and indulging her every whim.
Okay, so far so good.
Right.
Or so not surprising.
Yeah,
For a king who seemed to miss the memo on responsible leadership?
exactly.
What kind of whims are we talking about
We're
here?
talking silk-ripping, jade-smashing extravaganzas.
Wow.
Okay.
So imagine a palace
Yes,
where the very fabric of wealth is destroyed
I know.
for mere amusement. This is another level.
It is. And then there's the story of the Tilting Palace.
Okay, the tilting palace. You have to give me some details.
Okay.
That sounds unstable, to say the least.
So legend has it that Ji,
Okay.
at Meiji's request,
Okay.
had a palace constructed with pools of wine
What?
so vast
Okay.
that boats could sail on them.
Oh my gosh.
The palace floors were said to be coated in polished jade,
Okay.
and servants were forced to crawl on their hands and knees
Oh, wow.
to avoid scratching it,
Okay, first of all, ouch.
right?
Second, talk about a waste of resources.
I know.
You can practically hear the kingdom's treasury groaning
Oh,
under the weight of all that extravagance.
Exactly.
And all of this while the people suffer.
Yes.
This wasn't just bad taste.
No.
This was a symptom of a much deeper problem.
Exactly. A complete disconnect
Right.
from the needs and well-being of those he ruled.
Okay, so we got a king who has lost touch with reality,
Uh-huh.
a kingdom on the brink,
Yes.
a population that has had enough.
They've had?
This sounds like we're approaching a tipping point
Yes.
where the mandate of heaven is about to make a very dramatic shift.
Here we go.
Okay, what happens next?
Well, remember how we were talking about the concept of the mandate of heaven
Yeah.
being tied to a ruler's virtue?
Okay.
So this is about to come into play in a big way.
Okay. I am on the edge of my seat.
Okay.
Who emerges to challenge this tyrant?
Okay, so in the East,
Okay.
a leader was rising.
Okay.
A man named Tang.
Tang. Okay.
And Tang embodied all the virtues that Jie lacked.
Okay, good.
He was known for his wisdom,
Okay.
his compassion,
Okay.
and his understanding of the responsibility that comes with power.
Okay.
He saw the suffering
Right.
of the people under Jie's rule,
Yeah.
and he knew something had to change.
Okay, so we have a classic showdown brewing. The virtuous Tang versus the tyrannical Jie.
That's it.
This is it.
This is the moment.
This is the moment that will determine the fate of the Xia Dynasty.
I know, it's so exciting.
I know. So tell me everything.
Okay, so Tang's rise is as much about strategy as it is about virtue.
Okay.
He understood that to defeat a tyrant like Jie,
Yeah.
you need more than just military might.
Okay.
You have to win the hearts and minds of the people.
Right. You have to show them that you offer a better way,
Exactly.
a return to the ideals of justice and compassion.
Yes.
Okay.
And Tang was a master storyteller.
Okay.
There's this famous anecdote
Okay.
that illustrates this perfectly.
Okay.
So one day, Tang is walking through the countryside,
Okay.
and he comes across a hunter's net.
Okay.
The net is full of birds, trapped and terrified.
I know the poor birds.
I know. Now, most people would probably just walk on by.
Right.
But not Tang.
Okay.
He stops.
Okay.
He looks at these birds,
Yeah.
and he tells the hunter
Yeah.
to capture everything in sight is not the way of a sage.
Wow.
And then he tells the hunter to open the net
Okay.
on 3 sides,
Wow.
allowing the birds to choose their own fate.
Wow. That's quite the power move.
Right.
It's like he was saying, I believe in free will, even for birds.
Yes, exactly.
Wow, that's amazing.
And this story,
Yeah.
whether completely factual or embellished over time,
Right.
perfectly encapsulates Tang's approach to leadership.
Right.
It highlights his compassion,
Of course.
this understanding that true power doesn't lie in control,
Right.
but in allowing others the freedom to choose.
Yeah.
And this act of mercy
Right.
did not go unnoticed.
Of course not.
It spread like wildfire.
Right.
And it solidified Tang's reputation as a leader who cared.
Yeah, it's brilliant. He's not just challenging Jie's rule.
Right.
He's offering a stark alternative.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
A vision of leadership that's rooted in compassion and justice.
Yes.
What happens next?
Okay, so Jie, of course, saw Tang as a threat.
Right.
He tries to have him imprisoned,
Okay.
but Tang's supporters
Yeah.
managed to secure his release.
Okay.
And once Tang was free, he starts to rally support for his cause.
Right.
He's gathering a massive army, not just through force,
Right.
but through the power of his message,
Wow.
his promise of a better future,
Right.
a return to the values that had made that dynasty so great.
So it's a battle of ideologies as much as a battle for the throne.
Exactly.
What was Jie's reaction to all this?
Well, Jie wasn't exactly known for his self-awareness
Right.
or his ability to change.
Right.
So as Tang's forces gained strength,
Right.
Jie became increasingly isolated.
Yeah.
His cruelty and excesses pushing away even his most loyal followers.
Right.
By the time Tang's army marched on the capital,
Yeah.
Jie was a shadow of his former self.
Right.
His power was crumbling around him.
So what happened? Give me the grand finale.
Okay, so the final battle was swift
All right.
and decisive.
Okay.
Jie's forces were no match for Tang.
Wow.
Defeated and abandoned,
Wow.
Jie fled the capital.
Wow. What a downfall.
I know.
From a king who compared himself to the sun to a lonely exile.
Right.
Abandoned by all those he had wronged. And it's a reminder that the mandate of heaven,
Yes.
now slow to anger,
Yes.
is even slower to forgive.
That's right.
So with Jie gone,
Yes.
Tang steps into the power vacuum,
He does.
ready to usher in a new era.
A new era for China.
What happens next?
So with Jie's reign over,
Yeah.
the Xia Dynasty finally breathed its last.
Wow.
Weakened by internal strife and corruption.
Right.
Just couldn't hold on any longer.
Wow. And so what happens?
Tang, hailed as a liberator,
Right.
ascended to the throne.
Okay.
And this marked the beginning of the Shang Dynasty,
Wow.
a new chapter in Chinese history.
So Tang's victory wasn't just about one ruler replacing another.
No, it wasn't.
It represented a fundamental shift
Exactly.
in how leadership was perceived.
Right, because Tang understood that true power
Yeah.
lay not just in military might,
Right.
but in the hearts and minds of the people.
It's about the people.
It is.
Yeah.
And so he ruled with wisdom
Right.
and compassion,
Okay.
emphasizing justice and fairness.
And reminding everyone that that mandate of heaven
Yes.
was not a birthright.
No.
It was a responsibility.
Exactly, a responsibility.
Right.
A delicate balance between power and virtue.
And ultimately, that is the legacy of the Xia Dynasty. That even in its downfall,
yes,
it serves as this powerful reminder.
It does.
To future rulers, listen to the people.
Yes.
Rule with justice and compassion.
Yes.
Or face the consequences.
Exactly.
It's a lesson that echoes throughout history.
It does.
Doesn't it?
It really does.
The Xia Dynasty's story,
yes,
this blend of myth, legend,
yes,
and historical record,
right,
reminds us that power without virtue
yes,
is a very dangerous game.
It is a dangerous game.
And one that rarely ends well for those who choose to play it.
That's right.
Well, thank you for taking us through this fascinating and tumultuous period.
Oh, of course.
Ancient Chinese history.
My pleasure.
And thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Xia Dynasty.
Thanks for having me.
Be sure to tune in next time.
Yes.
For another fascinating exploration of the past.
I'll be here.